Recently, the arbitration case of the South China Sea, initiated by the Philippines, has become a hot topic again. Although China has stated its position of non-acceptance and non-participation, the Philippines is still quite enthusiastic about putting on a one-man show directed and played by itself. Despite such a good show, all the activities of the show are totally done in vain. And why is that? Today, we will spend several minutes telling you the ins and outs. The legal grounds for the Philippines to initiate the compulsory arbitration procedure is the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. The convention does include a compulsory arbitration procedure. But when initiating this procedure, attention should be paid to the numerous restrictions. We can compare the restrictions to thresholds. Only when the three thresholds are crossed can a compulsory arbitration procedure be conducted. How many thresholds can the Philippines cross? Let's find out. In 2015, there was quite a popular movie in China called Mr. Six. It tells a story of a native of Beijing who cannot talk things out. Finally, he had to deal with it by relying on his old school rules of fight. Here, I would like to say that we don't encourage fighting. We just take the story as an example for all those Chinese movie fans. First, the dispute over territory between China and the Philippines is not subject to the interpretation and application of the convention, so the arbitration tribunal had no jurisdiction over it. Therefore, its verdict will be invalid. That's to say, if Mr. Six and the other guy want to pick a fight, they need a good reason. You can have a fight for debt issues, but if it is for kids' education at home, then the fight is unjustified. Secondly, all the signatory states can exclude certain disputes from the compulsory procedure by a declaration made when or after ratifying the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. As early as in 2006, China made a declaration to exclude disputes over territorial sovereignty, maritime delimitation, and military activities from the applicability of compulsory arbitration procedure. Obviously, when the Philippines is applying a provision that we excluded 10 years ago to blame China, this is definitely invalid. For example, since the day when Mr. Six reigns over the Beijing streets as the neighborhood kingpin, he has declared that he will not have any fights over family disputes. But you still ask him for a fight for this reason? Do you think he will accept this? The third threshold is that if both parties have agreed to choose other ways to settle the disputes, they cannot apply the compulsory procedure either. From 1995 to 2011, China and the Philippines issued at least 6 declarations and reached achievements to settle the disputes over territorial sovereignty and maritime delimitation through bilateral friendly consultation and negotiation. These 6 declarations include the Declaration on the Conduct of Parties in the South China Sea, signed by China and 10 ASEAN countries. It is a solemn promise made by the Philippine government. Now, disregarding the previous agreement, the Philippines has initiated the compulsory arbitration. This is just a big slap in its own face. If we put this in the scene of the movie Mr. Six, it is just like that when both parties sit down and reach an agreement after negotiation, one party regrets and tries to pick a fight. Then, of course, the other party has every right not to accept this. According to the convention, when the compulsory arbitration procedure is applied, there needs to be a prepositional procedure for both parties to exchange their opinions. But the Philippines hadn't exchanged opinions with China before it initiated the compulsory arbitration unilaterally. This is just like that the party concerned is not even informed before the fight. Then, what is the point of the fight? Therefore, from the perspective of these 3 thresholds, the Philippines has crossed none of them. Then, this arbitration case has no legal ground at all. So, we don't accept or participate in such illegal arbitration. This is reasonable in international law. The United States and Russia did the same thing before in similar cases of judicial jurisdiction or arbitral jurisdiction. We must boycott the abuse of arbitration in this way to safeguard the integrity and seriousness of the convention. We choose to settle disputes at our own will. This should be respected by the international community. Finally, I'd like to advertise for Chinese movies. Movie fans can go to watch Chinese movies if interested, but let's leave the conflicts and disputes in the movie. The real world really needs peace and common development.